Talofa, o lo ingo Fatima Lankelde, ma o au o le press secretary i le official govana. O paia ma mamalu tutuila ma manua, o le ale o iei se upo le au auna, i se na whailia malape. Tau ono o whaapea atu, ma alo soifua maua, ma le langi e mama. A veia a umasui, o le awhionga govana, Pulaali'i Nikolao Pula, ma le awhionga Lieutenant Govana, Puluali'i Jr. E avatu se whaatalofa, and welcome i le tātou au tustala, ma le au whaasalalau, le media. Whaapea nisi o le kapineta, o loo wha tasi ma tātou nei aso. Awanoa le lei ua maua, ua whio mai le awhionga govana, whaapea fo i le Lieutenant Govana, i la sau noanga i le tātou press conference mua nei. A uma la sau noanga, o na avatu lea o nai minute i le au whaasalalau, le media e whaini la tō whesili, ma loo whaaloalo lava. Talofa, on behalf of Honorable Governor Pulaali'i Nikolao Pula and the Honorable Lieutenant Governor Puluali'i Jr., I would like to say talofa and welcome to our media friends and some of our cabinet members who are here with us for our first press conference. It's an honor and blessing to have our Honorable Governor and Lieutenant Governor say a few words today. After their messages, the media will be given few minutes to ask questions. Please rise and welcome our Honorable Governor Pulaali'i Nikolao Pula for his message.
Please be seated. Talo falava pa ia manu malu le tātou atunu. Ao ina malamangia ave le la I whonga muti. Ma le papa o whaaseunga. Ona surungia lea o matāsaua I sasai. Se ia ifo lo na aulau mea I ele sā o le ala taua I sisifo tu longa lava. O te wha tu lo atu ma ofo alofa atu Amerika Samoa I lau tapua inga mamalu I le nei vai teimi o le tātou waso. O le paia whaatala leia kiriso. O le au whainga luenga tutofi le tua I so se whaitaulanga ese. E ao no o whaatulo atu ma moli atu le whaftai. A walo o tau sao tā ua. I le whaanononga manu o Samoa ma ona tangata nu. Tainga ne fo I le malu I le atunu o a wale manu o tele. Whapea fo I le tapua inga I le whaleanga fulu. O lea lewa ia fo I le tapua inga I lo tātou songa I atu mua mapule I le lātou whale tele. Tu lou malava. O Sama whai ngāo Amerika Samoa, I lona tawhitolu, mal mālo whaloto I whale, o te whaatulou atu fo. Whaalulunga ma taitai o company ma pisinisi, o te whaatalo whatu ma whaatulou atu. Le tapua inga le atu nuu, pele o Amerika Samoa, e amata mai I ona ao, se I o iona iu, o te whaatulou atu, I le nei tai au. I would like to take this opportunity to express Lieutenant Governor Pulu, as well as myself, our gratitude to the people of American Samoa. It has been 3 months now since we took office. I am reminded every day of the trust and responsibility you have placed upon us. We are here to serve you. We are here to listen to you and to work tirelessly for a stronger, more prosperous American Samoa. Today is our first televised press conference. transparency, and open communication are essential to the good governance of Tutuila and Manua. There are a few topics that I wanted to speak about, one of which is to express acknowledgement to the Fono, to both the Senate and the House, for the confirmation process that took place in the past several weeks. We have nominated 26 directors for our administration. The Fono has confirmed 22 and 4 have been denied. We appreciate the process that the Fono went through with careful consideration, discussions that took place for the leadership team that we now have. So I am grateful for that opportunity for my directors and the leaders of our administration for the next 4 years. The second topic I wanted to speak about is the American Rescue Plan Act, or the ARPA funding. Again, I would like to thank the leadership of the Fono, President of the Senate, as well as the Speaker, for concurring with our administration to have a proclamation of emergency infrastructure for our territory. American Samoa government received $494 million in 2021. The last administration began 70 projects they launched. From 2021 to 2025, 7 have been completed. And now we would like to mention to our people, especially to our business community with contracts and all the work on the infrastructure, and the people of American Samoa, that the deadline for this funding is December 31st, 2026, which is next year. So there is an urgent need for the government, as well as our business sector and the people of American Samoa, to utilize at a fast track emergency methods so that we can complete these projects before next year, December 31st. Now, this is very important because if we do not, this funding will go back to the federal government. So we respectfully urge all our people, all our community, to make sure that we all assist in helping move the ARPA funding so that we can have money within our territory, so to help not only the revenues, but also to help our businesses be able to have all this activity move forward before the deadline of next year. Another item I wanted to talk about this morning is there's a misconception or perhaps misunderstanding regarding executive advisors at the governor's office as opposed to directors of the different departments of the administration. I just want to let everybody know that there is no conflict of interest. Advisors or executive advisors for the governor are policy staff within the governor's office. They do not have supervisory roles like unto the directors of departments. The directors are to focus on each and every department of the administration. They have supervisory roles to the 7,000 employees plus employees to the American Samoa government since we've come in for this next 4 years. So just to make sure that people do not have a misunderstanding, executive advisors are basically staff to Governor Pulu and myself in the governor's office. The directors of departments, they have a mandate to make sure that their departments work well, and they have a lot of staff under them. One of the issues I wanted to talk about as well is our goal of this administration to make sure that there's no misunderstandings in the employment of people in the government of American Samoa. This particular administration will not have ghost employees. In other words, those who we hire will have responsibilities and jobs to do. Those who may be doing part-time work or paid by the hour are those who will not work full-time for the government. I just want to make sure that our people, with transparency, honest governance, that these are the things that we ran on and we are now implementing in our government. Ia, le paia man mamalu le tatou atunu. O nao le tolu masina i o se e ai le vaa o le neino fo inga. O te valu sia o le fau. Mau whape atu i le nganga loto maulalo. Tatou ngā lulue whatasi i le aloina o le tatou sā. I nei whapeo na manuia le mamalu le tatou atunu. Ai ei lava fo ini mea e o whapea na se e le amatanga le no fo inga. Ia, i le ai lava seisi sa o lele. Ai o le nganga moni, e whape nao no tau saunua ma whetalai mai, i nei whapea o na iei le nganga, transparent le tatou malo, ma ia whai le atunu. Wa iei fo i tangata o no fo inga tuai o lo iei tu tonu o le matu no fo inga. O le nganga moni, tutuila manua, wa uma le tatou palota. Leo o tatou ngā lulue whatasi. E le whape fo i la sa o lele le no fo inga pulu ma pula. E le ai ai lava fo i ni tūlanga i lautou whaafonga, ma lautou sila e tatau, o le whaalelei atili. Yeah, we have open doors. We want you to come, visit, i le whionga tuko wana, whapea fo i lo tangata whatauwa. E fo lo taltununga o tele fo inisi na o mai a o le maua le avanoa. Ia, paulava le tuolalo, whamulmole i a lava pea le on sai. Ia tātou ngā lului pea, o la tau mwhai lava e maua le avanoa, i tātou tangata nuu, i nei whapea na i eile langona i ate o tau, o le tātou malo, o le malo tū whatasi. Whaftai tele, saustemi a ieni fisili, a le nei tū la. O le atu nātu le vanoa se i whafonga atu foi, le whionga o le suiko vana i a Puluali'i Junior. Ia, lau whionga mtua.
Talofa, a lo lavale. So i fua mawai. Ko a whionga ni kai au. Ia, au ka kongu o mai a ka penga lo ka ko. Kai au i saunganga fo i marikurainga le whionga le ko vanga. Mea le ale koe o i aisa o wham klang. E siri lo walo loa langa o sau fo i le fia ai. O le programa le kako fua o wha moinga e. Whai le aso fulmal fitu a plila. Le aso fulmal fitu sisi le tātou fua. O programa e whapea o le a whai i il malai o le talu i whangatongo. E il wha moe tasi lava le aso. O amatai le tātou wha moe le aso le fua. O le sauninga e maka i le balu le tai au. E ona halolale o isi proklama nā. O le sāla so sfulma tōru. Whai le lotu o le aso le fua. Pai la le sauninga le i oi. kanana fou le meolo i ele malmal sai, lo tu e kalesia la mosa. Ea o iei fo i le proklama e amata le lua e le auri. O le aso sfulmal fa, aso na fua ma le aso sfulmal lima, aso lua ma le aso lulu, le aso sfulmal le ono. O whamai mo e whai e whawhiwhianga le Art Council i malao talu i whantongo. Le aso sfulfitu e sisi e loa le tātou fua. O lo ieri whamai mo e o tuunga waa e whape e whai le aso o lo fofou ono le tau e le teime sou ai le sami ma tulanga whapena. E lawa ieri whamai mo e a le le tau le aso lua po le aso lulu ia e whai e le tuunga waa. A le aso ai taun whai e le tuunga waa o le aso sfulmal fitu. I le auli teime le umaina sisi le fua whaisina fufuanga ai pe ai ono utala no atu e fuafua i le tau o le tātou atu nu e whai so le sami ma le timu ma le wha. O le whamai moela a o le auli ona o le tātou whawhiawhianga e kale sia whai oi e le malai tafuna, le VA Stadium tafuna. Whai e whawhiwhianga siwa, e kale sia i olo whiwhiria e whai ele whamai moe, ia, ma whai e whoi ma whai longa o waa ma au siwa ma kirikiti ma la tau nei. Ia masalo le, e leo se proklama whai no fie le tātou whamai moe o na ua. Tau le lava fo le seleni o le whamai moe, o le proklama na mai le budget e 5 selau whai ele aso fua. Ia, whika aku proklama i meo kuunga waa ma whawhiwhianga. Koru selau, rosfu 5 awhea ruai. Ia koe anga selau mo kupu koe. Ia o lea lai, kausa iri se me mo maisesi vaenga o kupe wha le lei ai kako waso wanga le kasia le aso. O ngā o lo iei kako walauria o lo walauria. O le walauria mua lava ua umaonga. O iei wha moe o le. O le walauria le preskengi o le ungai keskeke. Ia Trump. A kongo e mo maisesi se rengi o fua. Vai. Ia ai meise fo i o kako Honorable Joe Green o le ko vanga wei o mga o maisiko i ngai sau ia e fo awa i foi ke les ke o kosi sau maisiko o e foi male general le sau mai oi ia America Allen Martin ia o le forces stoi ia ai meise fo i ore le au malo por tasiale le o le au Samoa e a wai tato fua. Ia foi manisi vaenga o le malolo, ia o le vaenga Navy, lo whamoi moe mai whaila ko Navy Week i le vai aso lea. E ta ua le aso nei. Mea le nae, watu lava le whamalo tato talo pere tua ia. Le tato tau mai ia. Whamoi moe foi ia kato pisinisi sosoni mai le tam whainga o le tato fua. Pe mo mai ngai se lengi whalavai, po ngai pusa ua upo, wa me mo mail company, pe keira mai se mea ai whale inga po a mea. Ia mea umangai ka ke sosoni ka whainga kako malo. E me se foi le whongo ia, se ke lako mai se lako vaenga i ka kongo ala lofa mai. Aia kaukua ngā maka ko ia whaile leil kako whamoe moe, o le aso nge o le aso whangau o le kako malo, kako umai e nge o aswang o kako uma o kako malo nge, po fea ki sa wai po sainga po fea, ia leilanga ka wanga ko donate umai kongo le whainga o le kako aso. Waku lawa le whawhikai kere, soswangi mai o le kongo, mai hau whaukua kufo ia, o mai e whai kako aso, ia leid kako aso wanga le kasia le aso, ia manguia le kako whakasinga ngei aso, ia manguia mauhoi se manguia ia manguia ia, ai, awal manguia nga oko, ia soifua mai manguia.
Another big hand of applause to our governor and our lieutenant governor. At this time, I would like to invite the media. If you have any questions, please refer them to the governor or lieutenant governor.
Go ahead.
Please, could you give us an update on the budget? Because you have mentioned that we're facing shortfall in the first quarter, and you instituted the cost containment measures. And so just wanted a recap on that, please.
Thank you, Monica, for the question. Basically, an update on the budget. The Fono passed the budget, which was about 166 million, especially with the local funding. Before we came in, the first quarter was used by the past administration. The revenue stream at that time, if you just divide the 4 quarters in 4, the revenue stream that came at that time was about 28 million. And I mentioned this during the opening of the funnel, where I said if the revenue stream continues to be the same on the 4 quarters, by the end of the year, the American Samoa government will be in a hole for 50 million, or roundabout. And so we are in the middle or getting close to finishing the second quarter, which is at the end of March, will be the end of the second quarter, which is halfway through. In my mind, the treasurer and the budget and the finance people in my office are always looking at the revenue stream and see how it's going. So, with the fact that we are only in the second quarter, I will get that number at the end of March. So, I am hoping that we do not have to cut the hours of the workforce or have layoffs if the revenue stream are not coming in more than we anticipate. Now, I do not want to do that at the end of the third quarter and then say we're in trouble. We are watching, we are looking, and that's why it's very important that I mentioned earlier in our press conference the importance of pushing ARPA funding out so that the more of this funding goes out in the public and the private sector, and with some of the taxes and some of the things that will happen during this year, that we will be able to increase the revenue stream. So hopefully toward the beginning of the fourth quarter, that there will be a kind of balancing of the revenues and the expenditures. So that's kind of like what I can do. The numbers obviously have to be crunched, after every month to see what the actuals are that come in and what we anticipate. If we have to go back to the phono, we will, to let them know what we intend to do. But as I am saying right now, we are hoping that we don't have to do any layoffs or cut the hours of the workforce until we get closer in the third quarter. And then we'll make a decision by then.
So there's also concern about the announced cutbacks in federal funding announced by Trump, especially with the Department of Education and the USDA cuts. Has your administration received any official communication about how this would impact and what contingency measures is the administration planning to offset those?
Thank you, Monica, for that question. I had the opportunity to attend the National Governors Association meetings in Washington. And I want to say that the Trump administration they're looking at what often was said before in the first Trump administration, draining the swamp in Washington, D.C. And so they're looking at cuts of federal programs. But I want to remind all of us that the president and the administration also have to deal with the U.S. Congress. Now, we have heard about the cuts of the education and including alternative energy and some other issues, but we have not received any official situation. I'd like to remind that during the first Trump administration, when the Republicans were majority of the House, majority of the Senate, and Trump was president, similar things were addressed during that time. And Congress, instead of decreasing and doing the cuts, they increased some of these programs. Now, this is the second time that President Trump and the Republicans are again majority of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. While there have been, I suppose, ideas, proposals of the administration, we have not yet received any official. Yes, all the governors of all states and territories are concerned about all these proposed cuts. Now, on the flip side of that, I want to say that the Trump administration are saying as they continue to cut the fat of the federal government, so to speak, and also deregulate a lot of the regulations that have been going on for many years through Congress. The way they look at things is when the president spoke to the governors, including Mr. Steve Miller, who is the Deputy Chief of Staff, in the meeting that the governors attended. Basically, he said the way this administration are looking at things, if you governors of states and territories have problems or issues, you come straight to us in the White House and we will work with you in fixing those problems. Now, of course, in other meetings that I attended, for example, the Western Governors Association meetings that was hosted by Secretary of the Interior, Secretary Burgum, as well the Secretary of the Energy was also there, and the Attorney General. Now, the interesting thing for me as a new governor, as we sat around in that meeting, I was wondering, why is the Attorney General attending this meeting with the Secretary of Energy and the Secretary of the Interior? It was primarily most of the governors of the West Governors Association, they have a lot of federal lands. So there are a lot of lawsuits, the states that sue the federal government for some of the state rights. That's why the Attorney General was there. Interestingly enough, the talk was about energy, a lot of the energy, because many of the states have alternative energy, renewable energy. They did not want the Trump administration to just cut those off and not utilize them because the states have spent a lot of money. Now, for me, when I came down to my side, all I said was the cost of electricity in American Samoa is 43 cents, north of 40 cents. And the reason why I said that, because most of the states, the cost of their energy is in the range of 20 cents or lower. So the Secretary of Energy, Mr. Wright, Secretary Wright, he got up from his seat, he came over to me, shook my hand, he says, Governor Pula, my department will help you. So I have not yet gone back to him about it, but I kind of like the idea with this administration that if the governors of states and territories have a problem, they come to them and they will work to fix it. So that's the beginning, and I hope that as more discussions or more mandates or whatever you call it that's going to come down the pike, that we will do our best to get ready, because if they cut the education funding, which American Samoa government depend on a lot with the federal government, then we're basically in trouble. And so we hope that those are some of the things as governor, I'll go back to the White House and say, look, I got a problem here. You said to come and help me out, so let's see what we can do to help out. Okay. Any other question?
Governor,
Yes. Please say your name and
Hi, I'm Joyetta Pulaali'i with KBCK.
KBCK. Okay.
And during your State of the Territories address, you mentioned that the government owes billions to the retirement fund.
Okay.
What is the status on that, please?
Well, right now, I think I threw out a number that was either 6 or 9 million, right? And I think what the intention there is that because of the what you call the retirement fund, often in the past have allowed the money to be borrowed by either Estaca or some other entity, and the idea here is the American Samoa government owes many money. During the governor of Lolo's time, the government issued bonds, and those bonds are still outstanding. While we, the government, is trying to pay, we want to make sure, and I know that the FONO members are also aware, that often we got to make sure we pay these. Otherwise, these other entities or the money that we owe the government can really bring a halt to the movement of the government financially. So our idea is to be transparent. And we want to say, look, the American Samoa government, or at least our 4 years, we're going to do the best we can to make sure, we pay our vendors, we pay the folks who service the government, and there are a lot of things. Like I said, we've only been here 3 months, and I am very concerned about the different parts of the government that owe money, and this is our government, all right? It's not just the government of American Samoa. It's all the people who live here will be affected should these things are not done in a transparent process and also the right way of doing things. Okay? I hope that answered your question. Okay. One more? Go ahead.
Victor Lee from Hawaii Media. I'd like to ask you about 3 things. Since there's one more question.
Wait a minute. That's not fair.
It's a 3-parter.
One more, and now you say 3 things. I think Monica also has another question, so I'll allow for your question and then.
All right.
Okay.
Well, there's, you mentioned ARPA. The
Okay.
funds that don't get used, what about the difference of what was being used? Does that go back to do we owe that to the federal government? In addition of the remaining, going back?
Victor, let me just say, the difficulty of the ARPA funding is not done by an executive order. It would have been easier that way because we could go to the president. It was passed by Congress, so it's a statutory way, and it's very complicated. So just to answer your question, at this time, I am taking a risk, or our administration is taking a risk, because the law said if you don't complete the projects by the end of December 31st, 2026, the money is returned, to the federal government. I have yet to ask the question of, if the projects are not finished, do we have to pay back all the money that was used for the projects? So I'm kind of like cringing a little bit. I'm hoping that we are not going to be penalized in that way, but that my idea now is to push as much as we can to complete the projects. So for example, I'll give you an example. Some departments, since they received the funding several years ago, are only like 5% completion of the projects or the money that they receive in 2021 or thereafter. So I'm very worried about that, and we're having meeting every week. Uchi Kepawa, Keith Kepawa, not to mix them up, was the ARPA sort of like director in the press administration. I've asked Uti to come and help us in our administration moving forward. Now, with all the departments that have ARPA funding, they are all aware now that there is this big push by us, and I'm even asking my executive advisor, my policy advisors, to get out there in some of the departments and help collaborate in pushing the issue. I am basically asking every department, and they've been meeting with Uchi Kepawa almost every day. He's a real busy person right now, and I'm hoping and continue to hope that every day in the departments that have ARPA funding, they are pushing this funding to get out to the private sector.
Just one quick question, sir.
Okay?
Sorry,
No, that's good.
the biggest question from the people is, how are you going to be able to pay it down, all those debts? But they also provide a suggestion for a solution. They heard that during your campaign, you were thinking, it came across the discussion that you would legalize marijuana.
Legalize marijuana?
Legalize marijuana.
Okay. I have not yet have a proposal from anybody to legalize marijuana. There may have been discussions during campaign, but you know very well there are all kinds of discussions during the campaign. But at this point, I would say that is something that has to go to the phono as well. While we do look for ways so that the government can be solvent or at least be current with its revenues and expenditures every year, I think it's important that we look at other ways. My way of looking at to increase the private sector so that expand it, so we can do trade. And this is something that I'm working on. I would like the federal government in all its pertinent departments, like Department of Defense, Department of Commerce, Department of, even the State Department. I'll tell you, when I was there, we got there a little late, so I missed most of the IGIA meeting, which part of the meeting that I went to. IGIA is the intergovernment groups on insular areas, where the four territory governors, where the Secretary of the Interior is the co-chair, as well as the President's assistant to domestic policy. They are both co-chairs for this IGIA, where the governors of the territories come to the White House and have meetings about how to help the territories, because we don't have votes both in the Senate and the Congress, but that's a way to work with the administration. And these two co-chairs, what they do is they invite secretaries of the other departments of the federal government or their designee to come and meet with the governors. So usually they do this meeting during the winter meetings of the National Governors Association.
In regards to medical marijuana,
Yeah,
would you, for the sake of patients, vets that really need it? I can speak for myself. I was taking 17 medications
okay,
when it came from the United States.
all right.
And I found help in cannabis. This has happened, the last time this happened,
Okay.
2 years ago. So
Alright.
when I was getting off these pharma drugs, it really destroyed my kidney and my liver. I'm on dialysis because of all this medication.
Okay.
So would you even consider it legally for,
The answer is yes.
Okay.
I will consider it. Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. Next question.
Last question, Governor Kamamole. There were projects that were undertaken by the previous administration which have been found did not go through the bidding process and did not have backup documentation and all that. Will this administration honor those since they performed the work and?
Okay, just to make sure I understand the question, will we honor them
Yeah, will you?
or not honor them? All right. Just to make sure I understand the question, right now, like I said, I have even invited the Speaker of the House to come have a discussion with me. Right now, like I said, we're in the third month of our administration. I'll give you an example. My Attorney General, has only been hired not too long ago, maybe just a month, but she's been to the House to testify 5 times already, and probably will be more. So all I'm asking, and I did invite the Speaker, I said, our administration will work with you, with your subpoenas or your requests regarding questions that the House members have. But please, if you don't mind, give us some time, because our transition, when we came into transition after the last government, it was very, how would you call it, very shortened because of the I guess the runoff. So, and plus, it wasn't a really good transition. It was kind of, so we are still right now going through transition. So that's why we ask not only the House, but our administration, we ran on honest governance and transparency, and we will continue to do that. We just need some more time so we can organize and move in a good way. I believe we will, but to answer your questions, some of the things that have been done in the past, we know we do not plan to do them. If people are thinking of investigations or looking into some of these things, I will have that conversation with my Attorney General as well as the people that we need to have these things, and we will follow through in some of those things. But right now, we're in the mode of getting the government or the administration organized so that we can move forward. One of the things I asked very early, how much does it really cost to run the government of American Samoa? Do we need 7,000 employees? How much is the money, that we receive each year? If you do a 10-year in the past 10 years, how much it really costs to run the government and then adjust accordingly. When we came in, every director was paid $85,000. Every deputy director was paid $75,000, and then there were other departments that were broken up. So created more directors, created more deputy directors, and what we're trying to do is, do we need all those? So again, we're trying to organize, but I just whamole and plea the people. I mean, even in the social media, there's a lot of negativity coming into, I don't know how they find out this thing and that thing, but hey, we're just trying to start and have a good government moving forward. So all we're asking for, please give us some time that we do these things and then move accordingly. Okay?
Governor, one last question.
One last one?
In the
Okay.
spirit of transparency,
Yeah.
is there any chance that your administration can share a report regarding the pending ARPA projects?
On the
A report.
ARPA
Yes. on the
contracts?
ARPA projects.
Yes, definitely.
With the
Once we, later on next month, we're talking about our 100 days in administration, then we will be able to provide some of the information, like a progress report on how the ARPA is doing. I think that's important. I'm looking at it almost every week because I want to get it moving. Okay? Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank our media friends for all your questions today. Like the governor has said, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call our office. On behalf of Governor and Lieutenant Governor, I'd like to thank you all for coming today at our first press conference. Please rise so we have Governor and Lieutenant Governor departing.
Gracias, Carlos.